If you are in your mid-50s right now and you've been hearing about the normal minimum pension age changes with a bit of a sense of growing unease, and you've been wondering whether your pension plans are about to be disrupted, this video is for you. You see, HMRC has finally published the guidance that we've been waiting for since November 2021. We've known that from 6th of April 2028, the minimum age at which you can legally access your pension will rise from 55 to 57. That's a 2-year cliff edge shift. And for hundreds of thousands of people who are already drawing their pension or who are on the cusp of doing so, the question has been the same. What's going to happen in my case? So today I want to give you a clear, calm answer to that question, because buried inside this guidance is actually, I think, some genuinely reassuring news for a significant number of people. Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Matthew and I'm a chartered financial planner based here in the UK. And on this channel, we talk about how to build, protect and make the most of your money so that you can live the life that you want. Now, before we get into the detail, a little bit of context. The normal minimum pension age, or the NMPA, is the earliest age at which you can legally access your personal pension. It has sat at 55 for many years, but legislation has been in place for some time confirming that that will rise to age 57 on the 6th of April 2028. What we have not had until now is clarity on what happens to people who are already in the process of accessing their pension when that date arrives. What if you started drawdown at 55, but you're still only 56 when April 2028 comes around? Are your payments suddenly unauthorized? Are they going to stop? Can you take tax-free cash? What about a lump sum you were already entitled to but had not yet received? Well, HMRC has now provided provisional answers to all these questions, and I want to walk you through them in plain English. So, let's be clear about who we are talking about here, because this is not a change that's going to affect most people who are planning to retire in their 60s or beyond. The transitional rules are specifically designed to protect people who will be aged 55 or 56 on the 5th of April 2028. In other words, people who have already reached the current minimum pension age before the new one kicks in, but who haven't yet turned 57. If you are already 57 or older in April 2028, none of this applies to you. You're already above the new threshold. If you are 54 or younger on the 6th of April 2028, you'll simply have to wait until 57 to access your pension in the normal way. Though there are protections for people with a specific unqualified right to access earlier. That's known as a protected pension age. That will stay. Now, the people that we're talking about today are those who are in that specific window, turning 55 or 56 before the change. And the key question really is, what did you do with your pensions before the 6th of April 2028? Okay, here's the headline piece of reassurance for you. If you have already taken steps to access your pension before the 6th of April 2028, you are protected. Specifically, HMRC has confirmed that if you designated your pension funds into flexi-access drawdown, if you purchased an annuity, or if you became entitled to a DB scheme pension before that date, those benefits can continue to be paid after 6th of April 28 as authorized payments. You are not going to be cut off. Weird little quirky legal thing. For the purposes of the rules, you are treated as having already reached age 57 immediately before your first payment after the 6th of April 28. So the technical requirement is satisfied and your pension keeps flowing. The law is a weird thing, isn't it? How can you be deemed to be 57? That said, there is an important distinction here. This protection applies to pension benefits you were already entitled to. If you want to crystallize new benefits, draw on a different pension pot, for example, or take further funds from a pension that you haven't yet accessed, you're going to need to have reached age 57 for those to be authorized. The transitional rules really only protect what you had already started. Okay, let's have a look at some examples. Firstly, take David. David turns 55 in August 2027, and he becomes entitled to a scheme pension through a defined benefit DB company arrangement. His first installment is paid in December 2027, so he's already receiving his pension before April 28. When the 6th of April 2028 arrives, David is still under 55, so under the new rules, he is now below the new normal minimum pension age. But under the transitional regs, his pension in payment continues without interruption. Key thing to note though, if David wants to start drawing on a second pension pot, maybe he's got a SIP over here, he will need to wait until he actually turns 57 in August 29 for that to be authorized. The protection covers what he's already started, not what he wants to start afresh. Before we get into the second example, let's talk about defined contribution, DC pension withdrawal options a sec. This is where you've got a pot of money in a pension fund that's yours to draw from. Before you take any money out of a pension fund, that money is said to be uncrystallised. To take money out, you have two main choices. Well, actually you have three. The first we'll just call buying an annuity. That means you hand over your fund in return for a guaranteed income for life. As long as that is triggered before the 6th of April 2028, that will continue. But of the other two main ways you can take money out, the first is to designate money into flexi-access drawdown. We normally just call that drawdown. When you do that, you have the option at that point to take 25% as tax-free cash, and the rest goes into a drawdown pot for you to draw down from whenever you want, clues in the name. We consider this money has been crystallized. Now, the other main option is called UFPLS, Uncrystallised Funds Pension Lump Sum. And this is where you bypass drawdown altogether. You just take a lump sum from your uncrystallised pension pot and pull it straight into your bank account. Again, 25% of any money that you take as UFPLS is tax-free, and on the rest, you'll pay income tax. So our second example is Sarah. She is 55 in June 2026, and she designates all of her pension fund into flexi-access drawdown at that point. She takes the 25% tax-free cash, and she's now got a big pot of money in a drawdown account. But she doesn't actually take her first drawdown payment until May 2028, by which point she is 56. So she's under the new minimum pension age, but there is good news for Sarah because HMRC's guidance confirms that the transitional regs will treat her as having reached normal minimum pension age for the purposes of those payments because the designation to drawdown happened before 6th of April 28 when she was already above the then current minimum age. And the same principle applies if someone became entitled to a scheme pension or if they bought a lifetime annuity before 6th of April 2028 but the first actual payment wasn't made until after that date. And this is good news because I think it means, you don't have to scramble to take your first payment before April 28 as long as the entitlement was already established. Okay, our third example is around UFPLS, where the rules are tighter and work a little bit differently. The key rule for an UFPLS is that it's only going to be an authorised payment if it is paid after the member has reached the normal minimum pension age at the time of payment. So if you take an UFPLS payment before the 6th of April 28 while you are 55 or 56, that's fine, because it was authorised at the time. But if you want to take another UFPLS on or after 6th of April 2028, you're going to need to be 57 for it to be authorised, because now the new NMPA applies to that payment. So, quick example, Margaret turns 55 in March 2027 and she takes an UFPLS in June 27. That's authorised. She had reached the existing minimum age at the time, but she can't take another UFPLS on or after 6th of April 28 until she now reaches 57 in March 2029. And this is the area, I think, where being close to the boundary is going to matter the most. So, if an UFPLS strategy is central to your retirement plan, and you will still be under age 57 in April 28, it's going to be worth reviewing your timing carefully, I think. If you are wondering about your tax-free lump sum specifically, HMRC has addressed this too. If you are already entitled to a pension commencement lump sum before the 6th of April 28, meaning all the conditions under your scheme rules had been met, but for whatever reason the payment hadn't yet been made, you can still receive it after that date as an authorised payment. So if the admin of the scheme is slow and you organise the payment before April 28 and it doesn't happen until after, that's okay. The word entitled matters here. It means that all conditions under the scheme rules have been satisfied, not just that there was an intention or expectation. So if you're unsure about whether you've technically become entitled to a lump sum, that's going to be worth clarifying with your pension provider, I reckon. Okay, if you're finding this useful, and particularly if you know somebody in their mid-50s who's been a little bit worried about these changes, you know what to do. Just share the video with them. Because this is exactly the kind of topic that causes a lot of unnecessary worry. And sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is point somebody towards a clear explanation. And while you're here, let me know in the comments. Does this affect you? And has the new guidance changed how you're thinking about your own planning? Okay, I want to be clear about something just before we wrap up here. What HMRC has published is provisional guidance. The full transitional regs have not yet been finalised, and HMRC has said that they will provide further detail once draft regulations are ready for technical consultation. I feel like they need to get their skates on. We're only a couple of years away. But what that means in practice is that the direction of travel is clear. And for most people, I think the protections outlined here are likely to hold. The fine detail might still shift, and so it would be unwise to make irrevocable decisions purely on the basis of this guidance without keeping an eye on how the main legislation develops. But if your situation is straightforward, you're already in drawdown, your pension's already in payment, and you're in that 55 to 56 age window, I think you can take a reasonable degree of comfort from what HMRC has said. Your payments should continue without disruption. But if your situation is a bit more complex, if you're considering an off-plus strategy, or if you've got multiple pension pots at different stages, or whether you're weighing up whether you should crystallise benefits before April 2028, I think this is genuinely a case where speaking to a regulated financial planner is worth the investment. I would say that, I know, because I am one, but the stakes around pension access decisions at this age could be quite high for you, and so the right call very much depends on your individual circumstances. And if you want a structured, practical way to work through your own retirement planning, including how to think about drawdown lump sums, sequencing your pension income, Meaningful Academy's retirement planning course covers all of this in depth. You'll also get access to Voyant Go, the professional financial planning software that I use with clients, and I'll teach you how to use it so that you can model your own numbers, rather than just relying on generic examples like the ones in this video. Now, if you decide to join Meaningful Academy, use the code YouTube at the checkout to save on the course. There's a link in the description. Okay, let's pull this together. Quick summary. The NMPA, the normal minimum pension age, is rising from 55 to 57 on the 6th of April 2028. For those who are in that 55 to 56 window when that date arrives, HMRC has now provided provisional guidance on the transitional protections. If you have already designated funds into drawdown, if you've already started receiving a scheme pension, or if you've become entitled to an annuity before April 2028, those payments can continue. You are protected, providing the right conditions are in place. Lump sums you are already entitled to before April 2028 can also be paid after that date. But off-plus payments will need you to have reached 57 at the time that the payment is made, if it's made after 6th of April 2028. The regs are still being finalised, so keep an eye on updates. You'll hear them here first. And if your situation involves any complexity, take proper advice. We've talked today about the age at which you can access your pension, but knowing when you can access is only half the picture. The other half is knowing how much to take, in what order, and how to do it in the most tax-efficient way possible. So if you're approaching retirement and you want to understand how to draw down your pension without paying more tax than you need to, watch this video next, because that's what we cover there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.